When you say you are different from me, you refer to me, the body that you see here, the thoughts and feelings that I am expressing in words, the sensations that I'm having. All of those are different from the thoughts that you are having. For instance, I don't know what thought you are having now. And you only know what thought I'm having now because I'm speaking it. But you don't know, for instance, what sensations I'm experiencing. So in that sense, our objective experience is different. In fact, our objective experience never meets. Your thoughts and my thoughts never touch each other. Your sensations and my sensations never touch each other. They're private. They're separate. But if you were to ask yourself the question, what is it that knows or is aware of all these separate thoughts and feelings? Your mind would begin to journey back towards its source, towards that which is aware of experience. And if I were to ask myself the same question, what is it that knows or is aware of my experience? My mind would start journeying back away from the thoughts, sensations and perceptions that it knows towards the source of its knowing. Yes? In other words, both of our minds would begin to trace their way back to their source. And as they trace their way back to their source, the mind becomes less and less objective, because it's not directing itself towards an object, towards a thought. In other words, it becomes more transparent. It's like, imagine two people on a screen. The two people feel that they're separate. They're not touching each other. Yes? They're totally different. One's a man, one's a woman. One's tall, one's short. One's English, one's French, etc. But what happens if both the characters in the movie begin to ask themselves the question, what am I really made of? What is my reality? Who am I? They both start traveling backwards. To begin with, they go into their bodies and their minds. But if they don't stop with feelings and thoughts, if they go on back and back and back, what is it that is aware of my experience? They both arrive at the screen, the same screen. That is the experience of love, the recognition that what we essentially are is not similar, but the same. There is only one being. Each of our minds shares its origin, irrespective of the content of our experience. So you started your question by saying something like, I feel that we are essentially one or the same. That comes from an intuition. And we all have this intuition. We've all had the experience of being in love or simply loving a friend or an animal. That experience is the intuition of our shared being. And is it not the experience that we value above all other experiences? Can you imagine each of us on our deathbeds being asked the question, what was the single most important experience in your life? Wouldn't most of us say love or some such? It's what we value above all else. It's what we desire above all else. In fact, the vast majority of the mind's activity is simply to be relieved of its limitations and to know itself as it is.
Then, essentially, there is no difference between you, me, or anyone, but on a body...
Or anything.
Or anything,
yes.
But on a body level, we are separate.
Yes. If we admit that there are physical bodies made out of stuff called matter, let's presume that that is so. Let's take the conventional model. There are physical bodies made out of stuff called matter. At that level, yes, we can say those bodies are relatively separate, even on a materialistic level. The separation model doesn't work because your body and my body are nourished by the same air, by the same earth. So even at a materialistic level, our bodies are not really separate. They are intimately in contact with the environment and with all other beings. So even at a materialistic level, the separation model simply doesn't work. Even less so at the spiritual or the deeper level, where we don't admit this dead, inert stuff called matter, where we see everything is taking place in consciousness, made of consciousness. Where we see all experience as a play of infinite consciousness, a play of God's infinite being.
But but then if I say I don't know how to say I'll just give an example that if I look at you or if I look at this guy next to me, there is a different feeling about it, but still it arises in the same and it is essentially the same.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't mean that we have to, it doesn't mean that we can't respect at a relative level differences and not behave appropriately. We can respect differences at a relative level, and we should do so, and behave accordingly. You can have some types of relationship with some people and other types of relationship with other people. Most of us have an intimate relationship with one person. We have close friendships with a circle of people. We have business relationships with other people. Other people are strangers to us. So it's fine for there to be, for instance, different types of relationships or different types of activities. But what's important is to hold in our hearts the deep feeling understanding that ultimately all beings and all things, because we don't really admit things made out of dead, inert stuff called matter here. There's no... All so-called things are appearances in consciousness, made of consciousness. So we hold in our hearts the deep feeling understanding that what we essentially are, what everything essentially is, and what everyone essentially is the same being, the same infinite consciousness. And we allow that deep feeling understanding to inform our relative interactions with people and situations and objects. Doesn't mean you have to smile sweetly at everybody. You might smile sweetly to many people, but there may be other situations that you come across in life that don't require a sweet smile, that require something a little sharper or firmer. That's fine. But just once you either know or have the deep intuition that everyone and everything is a modulation of the same infinite self, the same infinite being, then allow that to inform all your relative interactions and relationships. Allow that understanding to modulate itself or tailor itself to every situation.